we just usually start rolling and just jump right in, man. That's what people like to hear. They just like to kind of hear who you are and your story and background. So yeah, how did we even get this booked? Was it a call that Lorna put out, or how did we put this together?
Um, I think, gosh, I think this was way back when. Um, so I think I track my review rate like a hawk.
Mhm.
So I was consistently hovering, I think in the low 90s, and then at some point it just dawned on me. I was like, well, shoot, I should probably reach out to Spectora and then just let you guys know that it's consistently hanging there. So I must be doing something right. So figured some of the other home inspectors would probably want to hear about it as well, because everything that I'm doing, it's repeatable, it's replicable. It's not rocket science by any means. So
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
I'm excited to hear it, especially that you want to talk about like customer service and reviews, things that all, we obsess about here as well. So let's let everyone just hear kind of where you're at with the business, when you started, and then we can jump into your background from there.
Yeah. So I started in the business of October of last year. So I just wrapped up year one.
Okay.
So year one has been really, really kind to me. I'm very, very blessed and very, very fortunate. I think as of right now, I'm sitting at 87% in terms of review rates, which is really, really cool. I was talking to Blip, so I think that's the largest home inspection or just review service.
And when you say
That
review rate, just so people know what that means, 87% of people you ask for a review leave you a review.
Yes.
That's insane. That's unheard of, right?
But when I started, but then also let's just back up a little bit really quickly. So I haven't been I wasn't a home inspector my whole entire life. I had another life before this. So I was in finance for the longest time. My thing was I was in the private banking sector. So I dealt with a lot of the high net worth clients, the 1% income earners. So their needs were very, very different, as well as their expectations were very, very different in terms of what their client experience should be.
Mhm.
So I was immersed in that culture every single day for the longest time. So then when I made the transition over to home inspections, I felt that a lot of the skills that I was able to develop over time were transferable over into it's now our industry. And then I think the way that I've chosen to do things is really, really resonating in a positive way with a lot of the families that I'm helping, which is really, really nice, really, really cool.
Wow, private banker. I'm a finance background as well, so that's cool that we have that in common.
Oh,
I was
cool.
a finance major at Fort Hays State, and then went into more personal financial advising for about 7 years after college.
Oh, very, very cool. Yes. So I started back in 2005 as a financial advisor. That was with Ameriprise Financial. They used to be American Express
Yeah.
financial advisors, and then jumped over to the banking industry. And then because they saw what my background was, I moved into the private banking space. So still dealt with all of the financial planning folks, and all of those trust folks, and then just help them with their clients. But my real passion was construction. I love doing finished trim carpentry. So my wife just always saw me doing things around my parents' house. She always around our own houses. And then at one point she said, "Phil, you love doing construction. You actually really don't like your actual day job. You love to nitpick. And I can't take it anymore. Stop nitpicking our house and go do that for a living."
Do that for everybody. Yeah, you can get paid to do this. You know that. You realize that, right? You can get paid.
So I was like, "Yeah, I can do that. I can do that." So I get paid to nitpick other people's houses for a living. How cool is that?
Beautiful. This is beautiful. This reminds me of Steve Bennett, who I've had on the podcast too, who came from, I think, the world of financial advising. And he said the stress and the hours and the expectations kind of just got to be too much. And he had a passion for construction and building as well. And so was it that simple? She said, "Hey, this is another interest of yours. Why don't," and like, what was the thought process like? Because I imagine you were making decent money, and then now
Oh
you're,
no,
you,
I found my way into this industry kicking and screaming because I was essentially at the top of what I was doing. So making a transition like that was incredibly hard. It probably took me a couple of years to actually really get on board with it. It was best decision that I ever made.
Why?
Best,
Tell me why.
best decision that I ever made. Because being a home inspector, you have full control over what your life looks like. So if you want to take a job today, take a job. If you want to take a break and spend time with family, do that. You control the influx. You control the volume, which is something that's really, really nice. In the financial planning industry, it's very saturated. It's actually overly saturated, and I've seen a lot of comments on blogs and internet postings in terms of, is our market, overly saturated? Are there too many home inspectors? So this is my opinion, but I really don't think it's oversaturated. I think it's actually this whole entire industry is underserved. There's a lot of opportunity for an individual guy or gal that's competent in doing what they're doing, and also has the business savvy and the marketing sense to be able to get themselves in front of the right people, to be able to make to promote brand awareness, and then it just explodes.
So
Sky's
you
the
don't.
limit.
So yes. So based on what you're seeing out there, you don't feel that. And you probably don't know other markets across the country, but like that's always the big question: is that are there too many home inspectors now? But guys are booked out weeks. We see a lot of our network busy as heck. So you don't feel there's saturation point yet with home inspectors?
No, not at least not in my market, because I feel like this is you'll hear this comment in a lot of the different markets, regardless of where the inspector is located. They'll say, well, it's a good old boy network. It's very, very it's very, very tight knit. They only work with who they trust. I really didn't have a huge background in construction, and it was very, very interesting. I was very surprised at how many inroads I was able to make in my own region so quickly. So during the summertime, I was doing 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and if I wanted to, which I didn't, because then that would compromise the experience that I'm trying to create, I could have done a third. So I think it's not so much about that it's already a tight knit group. I think the realtors are just looking for somebody that is not only competent, but also has good bedside manners, right? Using a whole doctor analogy. So we're all going to see things that are interesting, concerning, and then some things are cosmetic in nature. But it's how you position those types of things that you discover throughout the tour of the house, if you will, that'll either make you the number one person on their referral list, or now you move to the back of the bus. So and you always want to be top of mind, that's my opinion. You always want to be a top of mind, because these realtors, they know so many inspectors. So how do you differentiate yourself from everybody else? And I've heard also, so I'm an InterNACHI member. So I always listen to all the different podcasts and videos that Ben puts out. And the one thing that really resonated with me was, he always said, make sure that the value that you provide is so overwhelming that there's no other reason why they wouldn't want to go with you. And that's for clients, and that's also for realtors. So that's essentially what I've done. But that's also the same thing, and this from the whole financial planning world, because that world was very, very saturated. We had to compete on quality. We had to compete on customer service. So if you try to compete on price, you'll lose, because there's always going to be somebody that's going to say, I'll do it for $50 less. I'll do it for $100 less. But you're not going to be around very long. But if you can make what you bring to the table, the deliverable, so valuable, so overwhelming, that it's without a question that you are the go-to person, you'll get calls all day long, and they'll say, I can't believe that you don't charge more for your services.
Right.
And that's what we all want. We all want to be able to make not just a decent living, for ourselves and for our families. We also want to get paid what we're worth. And I feel as if, I still kind of view myself as an outsider, because I just wrapped up year one. And from what I'm seeing, with my short glimpse into the industry, I personally believe that the whole entire industry is grossly underpaid and undervalued for what we do. And if we can all, as a team, because we all represent different companies, but we all do the same thing, and we're all attempting to accomplish the same goal, which is providing a great great client experience, but then also take care of our own families. If we all are able to commit to providing that level of service that's far above and beyond what the expectation is, then we've earned the right.
Yes.
To be able to garner a review, because no one's just going to leave you a review. You can ask all day long for reviews until you're blue in the face, but if you didn't earn the review, forget about it. But then also, if you've earned that review, you've now also earned the right to increase your prices.
I love this. I want to get back to this because I think this has been something I've been just like racking my brain trying to like champion and kind of help the industry get paid what they're worth, essentially. And there's Ben Gromiko's obviously famous for having charged $1,000 per inspection at his peak or whatever, which is, he lived in Boulder, so that's a different story. It's a very expensive place. I want to back up because you talked about getting those inroads with the first agents, maybe breaking into the good old boys, good old girls club. What was your strategy when you kind of set out to get started, to make those connections, to meet your first agent? Do you remember what you did or what your strategy was to just start shaking hands?
Yeah.
Or over Zoom, maybe, because it was during COVID, no? So you may have had to do it a little differently.
It was all during COVID.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, it's interesting that you said, shaking hands. I have yet to step in front of or step inside of a realtor office to actually do any type of marketing. Literally.
And you've done a couple hundred inspections. It's not like you've done just a few inspections either. You've done a good amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that I do is all internet based, because what I thought to myself was, how can I reach as many people as possible with as little time as possible? The only way you do is with the internet. So if you get a good internet marketing strategy to make yourself more visible, more relevant, and then when you couple that with a couple other legs, so I equate it as from a marketing standpoint, you have to have multiple legs of a chair. So if you think of a chair, it's got typically 4 legs. So you can't, if you have 2 strong legs and then 2 that are only shaky or so-so, the chair's not going to last all that long. You're going to fall over. So you've got to have several different pillars, in order to make sure that it's as solid as it can be. So internet marketing, that's one. You got to make yourself relevant. 2, you got to make sure that you have a presence in front of the realtors. So realtors don't hang out on Google. Where do they hang out? They hang out on Instagram. You got to go where your target market is, target audience is. And for us, a lot of them spend their time on Instagram. So that's where I went. So, but the other thing too, I think you might have said it on one of your other podcasts, which also resonated with me a lot. You had made a comment of, so when you're on social media, you can't just like something. There's like
right.
that, because no one's going to pay attention to you. It's I think you had mentioned, like, so if you're at a cocktail party, or if you're at happy hour, and there's a whole bunch of people standing in a circle, and if you're just nodding your head, no one's going to look your way.
No.
You have to, and this isn't all that hard. All you have to do is take a look at who you want to, whose circle you want to be a part of, and then you essentially, Instagram gives you the ability to turn on their post notifications. So each time they post, you see that they're posting, and then just take 5 seconds. It doesn't take that long. Take 5 seconds, genuinely read through it, then comment on what they're posting, because I feel like a lot of people don't have a presence on social media because they're very self-conscious about what other people are going to think about them, right? So if you can also be supportive and demonstrate that you're actually taking the time to look at what it is that they're posting and then comment about it, they are over time going to start listening to what you're saying. Now, when you think about how many agents there are in any one given, region, if you take the time to find who they all are on social media, you follow all of them, then you take the time to just read a little bit every single day, you'll have a pretty big following pretty quickly. It's not hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Simple, but not easy. It's not it's not complex, but it's not easy to do. It just takes intentional effort, and everyone, I think everyone has a perception in their head that social media is either easy or it's just this chore or it's just this like other thing that you got to do half-ass. But what you just described is intentional effort in short bursts,
Yep.
and it's added up over time for you, no?
Yes. It's,
Yeah.
I think probably about 65, 70% of all of my incoming business is through Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
How crazy,
That's
how
amazing.
crazy,
Amazing.
how crazy is that?
That's going to blow everyone's minds. That should blow everyone's minds that's listening, because I think the perception is that it's more like a 5 or 10% or difference
No,
maker in a
no.
business.
And and it doesn't take a lot out of, it doesn't take a lot out of my day. And funny enough, I actually, it wasn't my choice to get on Instagram. My wife actually had to twist my arm.
Got a good wife there. She's helped the business. She's helping herself by helping you, right? Yeah.
She can't. So now she can't say that I didn't acknowledge that it was her idea, because
Right.
now this is actually memorialized. So you're welcome. It wasn't my idea. Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So what has the other percent of the business, or what are your other pillars, I think, when it comes to that chair? What else do you view as kind of the essential?
Yeah. Yeah. So the other one is, what is your SEO strategy like? It's not so from my perspective, so every region is different. Every group of, or organization of inspectors in their different regions is, they're going to focus on and hone in on different things. My region really isn't really focusing on an internet presence. It really wasn't all that hard for me to shoot up to the number one spot. So if you were to Google, home inspector Frederick, Maryland, see who pops up. Woo!
Yeah.
I also thought that was really, really, really cool, because when you also think about it, the whole internet world, it's really, really changed from when you and I were growing up. So it's very, very easy for someone to do their own due diligence, to pull out their cell phone or pull up their tablet and start Googling, what does a home inspector do? What are the qualifications? What are the credentials? What are they going to specifically look at? What is it like? How long is it going to take? So the more you can do to be first in line, the better, because you're going to increase your chances of actually winning a client. You got to always be first in line. That's my mentality. Be first in line.
And your site's beautiful, and I didn't even realize we had built it. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. You guys did an awesome job at it.
And you have a ton of content on there, right? And so did you
Yeah.
put in the work to generate that, right? To kind of write out kind of the services, the descriptions.
Well, I mean, you guys did all of that work. So you guys did an amazing job. So I kind of helped direct it a little bit in terms of, what my vision was. But you guys, put all that together, made it look really nice and polished. Now I do have an SEO team, in addition to you all, that also helps make me relevant. That's also really, really important. So when you guys launch the website, when you guys click launch or whatever it is that actually activates it, I just didn't pop up on the first page of Google.
Takes
But
work.
I think I'm sorry.
Takes work, right? Takes blog
takes work.
content, a lot of technical.
It takes work. But the other thing that I noticed too is that the more content that you can put out, regardless of if it's through the social media platform, if it's through reviews, or if it's through other companies that are somehow vouching for you, linking to your website, Google is going to find you to be more relevant.
I mean, these 100 5-star reviews, over 100 5-star, you can't deny that. An algorithm can't deny that. And like you won. I always tell new inspectors, it's a race to those first 50 agents, first 50 inspections, first 50 5-star reviews, because then Google is like, oh, wow, he's very relevant for this region, very competent, and it's undeniable. Everyone wants to shortcut it, and it's like, you can't shortcut getting good reviews.
No, you can't.
Can't fake it.
Anything that's worth doing takes time. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true.
So true.
It's true. And I know you mentioned 50 some reviews. For me, maybe because the area is because of the area, whatever it is about the area, but the area for me, it was 72 reviews. Once I hit 72 reviews, once I passed that threshold, my phone rang off the hook.
72. Interesting.
All day. It was really, really interesting. And I knew, so so I always talk about social proof because, when you and I were growing up, if our parents wanted to engage a vendor to have something done, they would ask for references,
Right.
right? Can you provide me 3 references? Nowadays, we're not asking for references. We're able to go, when we're about to, fall asleep at night, we're on our phones and we're scrolling through reviews. So that's our social proof. Those are our references. The more references and the more social proof we have, the easier it's going to be for us to be in the front of the line. But the interesting thing is, and this is how I find it fun, is because you never know what the catalyst is going to be, that gets somebody to call you. So one of the priorities I had was, how can I need to make sure that, I provide great quality service, but if I provide great quality service, I'll get a review, and I need to accumulate reviews as quickly as possible because I don't know what that tipping point is until I hit it. So I was just very go, as many reviews as possible. And then once I hit it, that's when I knew there. So I don't like waiting. I don't like because my personality. I don't like waiting for things. So I was like, so if I want my phone to ring off the hook, I got to go get it. So make the review very, very quickly.
I love this. So I want to rewind a little more again. And so you started commenting on Instagram, right? So like, that's easy, with the success stories there. So we've seen the results, but like those first couple comments, nothing happens. The phone doesn't ring. Like, how did you get those first 10 inspections? Like how did they actually go from seeing your brand, your name on Instagram, your comments popping up to actually calling you? Was there anything else in between that? Or like, how are those relationships?
Great question. Great question. So the other reason why I pushed for reviews very, very hard is because I knew I needed the social proof, and the hardest, one of the hardest groups to crack was going to be the realtors. They are the key to everything. Yet they're not going to trust you with their clients when they don't know you, nor are they really going to talk to you. So how do you demonstrate that you're competent? Reviews. So that was a priority that I made. So every single time I got a review, I would make sure that everybody knew about it. And since I was following a lot of the realtors, every single time I got a review, they all saw it. But then also the other thing that I was doing too is, remember, so everything that we do, or everything that I do is for a reason. And we should all think like that. So what I ended up doing was I needed to, and early on, I didn't have a lot of reviews. So I thought to myself, how can I make this as big of an impact as possible? How can I get the most out of reviews? So what I also started doing is that I also started holding back reviews. So I wouldn't just post one after a while. I wouldn't just post one review. I would actually wait till I had 5. Then I would just do one post with review. So it's the whole action of, wow, they keep swiping, another one. They're like, wow, this person is legit. It's not just one, it's a whole bunch in succession.
Smart. That's a smart little tweak. I love that.
Yeah. So go ahead.
How did you even get those first couple reviews, those inspections? Like, how did you even get your first 5 inspections to get a review? Because at one point you had 0. Like, how did you even get those first couple jobs?
So just by luck.
We create our own luck, though. We create our own luck.
I didn't have a name. So what I did was that I just made sure, because remember, when anyone's starting out in a brand new field, they're not as competent as the person that's been doing it for 10 years, right. 15 years. But what I can compete on is, and it's just like, the whole pricing thing. Always compete on service. Never on anything else. So I made sure that the one thing that I could control and do really, really well was providing a great client experience. So I would show up very, very early to the jobs, but I wouldn't just show up early. I would also tell them that I showed up early. Because they're expecting people to not be on time. So I'm going to demonstrate that not only am I on time, but I'm also super early. But then I would also demonstrate and take pictures that I'm already going through the house and they're not even. So, it's those little, it's like the whole, white glove, client-centric approach that means a lot to people, because, and I feel like sometimes, and I feel any industry, we can fall into this trap, but it's, the thing that I always have to constantly remind myself is, yes, I do this every single day, and it's easy to get jaded, and it's easy to say, oh, this is just another house. But if you constantly remind yourself, It's not just another house. It's their house. It's their family's house.
They're one
So
house.
would they want to go through it? How would they go through it if they were just as knowledgeable as you or I? They would check a lot more than what a normal person would check if it wasn't their house. They would spend a little bit more time at that house. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So I do a lot of other like little things too that aren't expected. So I have a home warranty manual that I get through Inanachi, and I provide that as a gift to everybody. But I don't just here's a book. It's got to feel precious, right?
Right.
It's got to feel valuable because it is valuable because I can't always be there. But in the meantime, if there's an issue, they can read something. So I take it another step. I wrap the book. I make it look like it's Christmas every single day. So, I mean, those are the little touches that I do that are not expected. But when I show up with these types of things, those are the wow moments that constantly keep on popping up throughout the whole entire inspection process. So by the time the inspection is over, and I say, hey, so just so you're aware, when I release the report tomorrow, a request for a review will also be sent to you. If you don't mind, it helps me out tremendously. This is how people find me, and this is how people determine whether or not they want me to help their family. By that point, the value has been so overwhelming. Most of the people are like, yeah, absolutely. This is so much better than anything else. Yeah, hold on. Let me just pull out my phone right now. How cool is that?
You're very impressive to me for this reason. You have such conviction and confidence in your approach and the value that you provide and ways to differentiate that's it sounds like you've been in the industry for 5 or 10 years with this wisdom. How did you train your mindset early on? Because I believe purely that mindset you just described of resetting every day, treating every person like it is their only home purchase, and in the next 7 to 10 years, is what makes people go the extra mile, do things differently, and stand out. How did you arrive at that mindset, or was it just ingrained in you, part of your upbringing? Was it from financial planning?
Well, for me, like I'm very, very competitive. But it's for me, it's you always have to have the end goal in mind. I know that's also very, very cliche, but it's very, very true. You always have to have the end goal in mind, which is taking care of the client, but then also making sure that your family is also well taken care of. So what does that mean? In order for the client to be happy, you have to far exceed their expectations. So then in order to far exceed the expectations, what can you do to accomplish that goal? And everybody's different in terms of how they want to far exceed those expectations, and that's okay. Because everyone's personality is different, everybody's skill set is different, but we can all still do that. We can all still exceed those expectations in our own way, and that's what makes us human. That's what makes us unique. Being able to be ourselves, but still demonstrate that we're going above and beyond what their expectation level is, if that makes sense. But the other thing, the other part to that is if I can take care of the client, and the client feels that that I looked out for them as if they were my own brother, they were my own parents, then they are most certainly going to go to every single one of their family and friends and then say, but when the time comes and they hear that they're moving, who they're going to call because nobody else does it. So
yeah, it is just I want to know if were you one of those that prepared and researched and had kind of all of this kind of in your head or on paper somewhere the day you launched, or have you evolved this over the last year in terms of the client experience and how convinced you are of what you want to provide? How did you arrive here? Because this is, to me, the wisdom of like an inspector that's been in the business for years.
So I am a little bit of a unicorn, if you will, or like I'm bucking the trend because I know from an official standpoint. So if I was a lender and somebody approached me and said, Phil, I'm starting this awesome business. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. But I need a little bit of startup capital. Can you help me out? I'm going to say, well, show me a business plan. Show me everything that you're going to be doing, step A through Z in order to get there, because I need to feel confident in what you're doing. But because of my background, it was already all in my head. Mentally, I always so when I talk to my wife about the plan, in my head I have switches that are slowly being turned on in terms of being able to progress up and up and up. And it's just one of those things where so first I needed to make sure that I had that I had just a ground-based presence. So there's Instagram. Then once I had a ground-based presence, then I have the internet relevancy set up. Once I have the internet relevancy set up, then all of a sudden now I have the reviews pouring in. Once the reviews pour in, now I start marketing more regionally. Can I get onto different news channels? Can I start doing podcasts? Can I start being featured in local magazines? So every single time along the way, which is all in my head, so it's a little bit harder to follow, will actually turn on. But I think that's the reason why I've been so fortunate to grow so quickly, is because I knew I know each time when a switch needs to be turned on to put it to a higher level. So it's kind of hard to explain, but you can't turn on switch number 5 without turning on switches 1 through 4, because it's not going to make sense, because you don't have social proof. You can't start trying to put yourself into regional magazines and position yourself as an authority expert when you don't have the reviews.
Right.
You look foolish. So collect the reviews, collect as many as you can, as quickly as you can. And the only way to do that is through providing a great client experience. Then that gives you the ability to now go to all the local newspapers, get yourself in. Now all of a sudden, now you're in the papers, now go to TV. Turn that switch on. Then you constantly turn more and more switches on. And also, each time when you go to turn on a new switch, you also have social proof for that next person that you're trying to get the switch turned on, because now you're relevant. Now you have experience. Now you have other people vouching for you. You don't have to say anything. You just show up and smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could probably sound crazy, but that's what I'm doing.
I love it. You clearly have a high motor. You're a high motor guy. We used to say that in basketball, like people that just like high motor, always playing hard, always like, what drives you, I guess? Cause I'll couch this by saying some people it's, hey, I'm an intense family. I got to provide for my family. I want them to have X, Y, Z. Some people are like, I just need to effing win. I just need to be the best, the biggest business in my state. I got to just compete. It drives me. Others, it's just like, I just do things well because my dad taught me that or whatever. Like, I'm just curious what drives you, because you seem very laser focused. Like, I wouldn't bet against you even just after spending 30 minutes with
you. No, well, thank you. So one, I want to make sure that my family, has a great life. And I want them to be able to do whatever it is that they want, and not have to worry about, is this something that I can do, and not impact me negatively. So in order to do that, we need to be able to have financial freedom. But then the second thing too is just is just I want to be relevant. I always want my name to be a part of the conversation. I want to be, the go-to expert with regards to what field that I'm in. So, the only way to be relevant is to be, in my mind, is to be number one. So and that's the reason why there's a fast climb. But I don't think, in my mind, the way my personality works, I don't think there'll ever be a point where like I'm at the top. But my wife always makes fun of me because I always use the analogy. It's kind of like you can tell by personality I'm very go. It's kind of like a dog trying to chase a car. So you got to go really, really fast. You got to go fast in order to get that car. And they're always moving so quickly because the car is moving quickly. But chances are they're never going to catch the car because the car is so much faster. So if for some reason if they did catch the car, what would they do with it? They wouldn't know what to do with themselves. They'd be stuck. Yeah. But I also equate it because so you have to shoot for much higher than what I think than what you're actually trying to achieve. Because if you shoot for right here, your chances are you're going to fall, you're right here, and you're never going to meet your goal. But if you actually shoot for much higher than what your goal is, you're not going to hit that, but you're going to hit the actual realistic goal to begin with. That's the whole, that's the whole entire point. So that's the reason why I'm always constantly going. That's why I'm always trying to, tweak the, the customer, the client experience. What is it like getting feedback? Because ultimately, it's your clients that are going to be able to determine how successful you are in whatever industry it is, that you're in. They will determine what they like and what they don't like. And part of that, and you won't be able to grow as any type of company unless you get feedback and unless you're open to feedback. So that's another reason why I'm always constantly pushing for reviews, but then not just reviews, asking, so what did you like about the process? What did you not like about the process? What are some of the things that I can tweak for the next family? And then each time when I do another inspection, it's better than the last one because I've gotten feedback. So, but
the humility to ask feedback. I love it. I love it.
So as you can see, we haven't talked about, competency level at all. But this is something that my mentor taught me when I was in financial planning. How much you know from a competency standpoint does not determine how successful you are at all. It's all about, can you resonate with your target demographic in a positive way? Can you get their attention? Can you provide a great client experience? And then once you get the opportunities, then the onus is on you to be able to not just confirm what they've heard about through so many different sources, but then also to provide that competency. So that competency, then at that point, the onus is on you to make sure that you're read up, you know what you're talking about. But that's easy.
Yeah.
That just takes. That's easy enough. The marketing part, that's the one that takes a little bit more effort to do.
And I think that's why people like you are winning right now, is because, the old saying of like, people won't remember what you told them, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Like that's never been more true with like a home inspection, right? Are you in IEB, or have you heard of IEB?
I have heard of IEB. I haven't engaged IEB yet.
Okay.
I might find my way there at some point. My time is so my wife has to force me to take breaks because I get calls all the time. So I ended up taking, here, perfect example. I was supposed to have taken off Saturday, and then I was also supposed to have taken off today. But then people were calling. People were they were calling me. But then today ended up rescheduling. But it's
yeah. You'll force yourself to take a break eventually. You seem like you need to recharge. I ask about IEB because of just like it. You remind me of so many folks we've met that are in there that are just high motor. They have ridiculous growth plans and ambitions. A lot of them are hitting them. Big companies that have been where you're at. What are your visions for your growth and expansion? Do you have a plan mapped out, or is it, hey, let me wait till I'm bursting at the seams, then I'll figure it out?
So ideally, I would like to pick up at least 2 inspectors every single year. But in terms of, because I'm pulled in so many different directions, you have to keep things easy to manage, easy to digest, and then also easy to be able to determine whether or not you're hitting targets. So for me, the 2 things that I'm measuring are, am I growing fast enough to be able to acquire and bring on 2 new inspectors every single year? But the other one is, what are the reviews like? How quickly are those reviews growing? Because if I can get enough, if I can consistently grow the consistency of the reviews and the amount of reviews, everything else takes care of itself for the most part.
Yep.
So how I compete with everybody else is indeed reviews. So I don't, and because I'm such a young company, I don't have the total amount of reviews that some of the other companies have, that have been in the business much longer. But the way that my mindset works is, it's no longer just about how many reviews you have. It's, what is the review rate? How often are they reviewing you? Because you could have 500 reviews, you could have 1,000 reviews, you could have 2,000 reviews. But if the review rate percentage is only 20%, how happy are your clients?
Right. Right. And someone's going to catch you, because if you're at 87%, you're going to be in the territory of these huge multi-inspector companies pretty soon that have maybe a 10 or 20% take rate. And that's going to be huge. That's going to look amazing in the search results, because I guarantee you when people Google, they don't know how big a company is or how long they've been around. They just see those reviews.
I get asked all the time, so which inspector is coming out? Are you, how many do you have? And I just, no, it's just me.
Yeah. You're like, you know what? I think I'll find the time to come do yours today. I think I'll find the time to do your inspection.
We check.
I can make it. I can make it. And so do you set milestones and goals for each year in terms of number of inspections, or do you just purely track reviews and obviously revenue? Everyone kind of tracks that, but like,
yeah.
What are your goalposts? I guess, how do you set those?
So for me, it's really just, well, at least for the first year, it was just reviews. I wanted to hit over 100 reviews, even though I didn't. So, I was talking about the whole social proof thing, and who knew, what that catalyst would be for, for the phone to start just ringing constantly. But for me, it's 100 reviews that I wanted to hit. So my goal is for each inspector that comes on, the minimum expectation is each inspector needs to pull in 100 reviews per inspector. So you can imagine, because then everything else takes care of itself. So you can imagine, as the company continues to grow, if the minimum expectation is 100, and then you start adding 2, 4, 6, but then the way you do it, or at least in the financial planning world, the way you do it to be able to incentivize the inspectors to continue to toe the line, to be able to create the type of experience that that we've originally created, you have to incentivize them to do it. So in part, that's how you how you get everybody else to buy in. But then you also create ownership. You also have to create ownership of the, for have them feel as if they have ownership over the whole entire process. So for me, it's the inspectors won't work for Frederick Home Inspection Services, because they're all going to be in different regions. They are Frederick Home Inspection Services. So what I mean by that is that, just like a financial planner, so when I was a financial planner and I worked for Ameriprise, I was the face of the company. They only knew me. So that's what I'm also trying to transfer into the home inspection world. So when I bring on a new inspector, the realtors in that particular inspector's region will only know that individual, and that individual is the company. So then that way they can also feel empowered to be able to continue to push the company forward.
Yes.
So and when that employee feels empowered to be able to do that, they'll treat it like it's their own company, and that's what we want, because then, regardless of who it is that's stepping in front of the clients, even if there's 20 inspectors for Frederick Home Inspection Services, that the client experience is going to be the same, regardless if you have inspector A, B, or C. So there are other also little things that I want to do in order to make sure that they feel empowered. But I remember so my family loves Disney. So we go down to Disney whenever we get a chance. And one of the things that always stuck out to me, and that really resonated with me, was that Disney, from what I remember, Disney empowers each of their employees to be able to make decisions on the spot. So if they see a client service break, they don't have to go to a manager in order to make things right. So if a little girl ends up, has an ice cream cone, the ice cream falls on the ground, any employee can go over to an ice cream stand, grab another ice cream, and hand it to her. There's no asking for permission. Let me key in my employee code. You just do it because that's the right thing to do. So that's the type of experience that I'm going to try to create across the board for the whole entire company. So that way it just I want the vibe, the feel, to be infectious.
Yeah.
It's gonna, and everyone's gonna love it. So
I love the vision. I love it. It's I can see it happening. It's so clear. With the point you're at now, that you're in a spot where a lot of first, second year, third year inspectors get to, where you're busy doing inspections. What's your system for still finding time to meet new agents? To maybe, you say you don't meet up in person a ton. That's obviously in flux right now. But like, what's your system for still growing the engine while still servicing it? You have to live in both worlds, right?
That's a great question. So the easiest way to do it, and you'll always hear me gravitate. This is the reason why I love social media, is because phone, I can easily connect with anybody at any time with social media. So I need reviews for social proof. So then whenever I come across a new realtor, I'm following them on Instagram. So now they're exposed to my content. So then they can choose when they want to interact with me on their own time. So it's not as if I'm pressuring them to talk to me, but they're constantly seeing I have more reviews. I'm doing the same things day in and day out. At some point, their guy or gal is going to be busy, and that's all I need. I need just one time for their guy. And then come in with all my bags, with all my experience bags, client experience bags, all the different things that I do to create in my mind an awesome experience. That's it.
I love it.
But the other thing, the reason why I'm pushing for as many inspectors as I can comfortably, is because I also know that at some point I too will also be very, very busy. You never want to leave your back door open. You leave your door open, then somebody else like me could come along and then also start to take over too. So the more that the faster you're able to grow, the more you're able to cover your back door to make sure that those clients and those realtors don't leave you. So
I love it. I love it. Your energy's infectious. I'm excited. You got me hyped up for the day.
It's I remember at the beginning how you were talking about. Oh, I think I saw it on your I think you were talking to Ben about on the podcast about the myth, how he was doing. He was using like $1,000 inspections. If you have really, really good client service, you can charge whatever you want, and people will love it because they don't get the experience of anyone else. It's because people obviously want somebody that's competent, but they're kind of like on edge in terms of what the experience is going to be like. And you can confirm this. With my last couple of inspections, I had a couple of $1,200 inspections within the last 2 weeks, and the clients told me that, well, hey Phil, so you're a lot higher than everybody else. Like, yeah, because the experience is a lot different. But at the end of the day, they still went with me because they knew that it was very, very different. And I didn't say that I was more knowledgeable, because there are a lot of other inspectors that are far more knowledgeable than I am.
Right.
Now, I'm confident enough to be able to do an inspection and to do it well. But there are a lot of other people that have been in the business for 20 years. That could find a whole bunch of more things. But when you combine a decent competency level with an overwhelming client service experience will win out every time.
Every time.
Hands down.
I love that. And you're living proof of this. I think of most people like, oh, my market won't bear that. That's just I think that's a construct people create because they're not willing to do all the little things to put their full energy and self into every single moment of every single job. Of course, it's not going to be possible if you're not willing to do that. You sound like you're willing to do that, which is exciting as hell because you're pushing the bar that way, not that way, which is where a lot of inspectors, without even knowing it, and I feel bad even saying this, some of them they settle into not mediocrity, but just average. I'm going to do the baseline standards of practice. Oh, that guy's doing that. I'm just going to do that. Whereas you're saying like, why can't we charge $1,000? That's what I'm providing in value. Right.
Yeah. We're worth it. We are worth it. Because also, for some of the bigger houses that take longer. So if an inspector is doing 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and a big house comes along and says that they need help, chances are you might be there for a while, which means you might not be able to take a second. So if they're going to impede or not be able to give you the ability to do a second inspection, then in my mind, you must charge for a full day's worth of work.
Right.
We're worth it. We're worth it. But in my mind too, it's since I feel like the industry is very, very underpaid for what it does. If we all start creating overwhelming value, and if we all start charging what we're worth, that rising tide, even if only, let's say, 40% of all of the home inspector firms out there, start, having the type of mindset it is, that I'm trying to create, that rising tide will lift all ships. It'll lift all ships. So that's the goal. And then over time, what's going to end up happening, if that 40% is strong enough to lift the whole entire tide, the ones that were a little reluctant to do it because they didn't have the conviction yet, they'll see that everyone else is now starting to make, more for the same level. So then they will be more confident to raise their prices. But then you can see how it just escalates. It just goes higher and higher and higher, because then you'll have companies like me that'll see that everyone else is now charging what I used to charge. So then, because I believe in my mind that my service is better, so then I will continue to raise. And then the tide just keeps on raising. So
we got to champion this. We have to champion this and spread this message and get it in front of as many people as possible, because I believe it starts with the belief that you are worth it, that you actually do provide it. And I think it all starts there, because I think people push back when they maybe question their own ability to give it 100% every day, to really bring it for a customer and provide like a ridiculously great experience, to just redefine it and say like, what would this look like if I were Apple or a company that's like iconic, what would it look like and feel like? And we need more of that. We need more of you, is what I'm saying.
The interesting thing is, so I also just remember, so how did I arrive at that type, at the level of conviction? So when I, when I worked for Ameriprise, way back when, this was when we were charging maybe like $600 for a financial plan. And I had the hardest time even getting someone to pay me half now, half later.
Hey.
It was tough. It was tough. But then when I switched over to a boutique bank, with their financial planning firm, their minimum, no questions asked, was $2,000. Mm-hmm. So I had no choice but to charge that. But my aha moment was that they said, so the only way that you're able to charge that is if you create overwhelming value. So then when I saw the two differences, for me, that was my tipping point. And that's how, when everything clicked in my head. So then I just took that and then just moved it over to a completely different industry, and it's transferable. You don't know, what clients are willing, to be able to provide for your services unless you ask.
Right. You have to be willing to have a few no's. You have to be willing to kind of challenge your theory, and some people may not take it. And I think you have to almost go in with that mindset, because I think some try it, get a few no's, and then they revert back. They go back to the safety zone and say,
so keep going. Yeah, you will be just fine. You'll be just fine. And the people that said no, you will probably not want to have them as a client long term, because since they know you, they'll call you for other things too. So you want clients that like you, that trust you, that buy in and believe in the type of experience that you're creating, and that value you. And you can tell that they value you if they pay for your services. So
that's wisdom. That's so eloquently put. I almost don't have anything else. Is there anything else that's on your mind that we haven't talked about? Anything else you wanted to cover in the last few minutes here? This has been amazing. This is probably going to be one of our best episodes.
I think for me, just in general, I can't say it enough. It's like rising tide. Everyone's got to continue, to move up. Because the other thing that I'm also starting to see too, is because I predominantly do and focus on new construction. Because what I realize, so I love new construction. There's just something about new construction that I just get excited about every single day. But I was actually, so I was at a new construction site yesterday, and I couldn't see the hurricane straps, for the actual trusses. Mm-hmm. So then I had to pull myself up, and I actually had an inspector with me, shadowing me, and my telescoping ladder was downstairs. I was like, wait, shoot, I haven't like exercised in like 3 weeks. I'm gonna go. Let me do some pull-ups real quick. It's like, Phil, are you serious right now? So you gotta have fun with what you're doing. If you're not having fun with what you're doing, why are you even here?
Man.
I was like, videotape me. So that way you can see that I can at least do 10. I can do 10. Yeah. I can do 10. So, but anyways, so what I'm also starting to notice, digressing, but what I started to notice was that, so when I'm engaging these builders on a daily basis, a lot of these builders actually don't take me very seriously. I feel as if that they think it's as if it's like what I bring to the table isn't legitimate. We're not a real trade, and I feel as if a lot of we get that as an industry from time to time, and I think one of the things that we can all do in order to bring some additional credibility to the whole entire industry is to charge what we're worth. I mean, I had a plumber here, at my house the other day to do a pull-in reset. So pull off my leaky, my wobbly toilet, and then to reseal it. I think that was maybe almost, like almost like $300. So, how long did that take? How long did it take that person? Like half an hour? Almost $300. I mean, there are some inspectors that are out there that charge that for 2 hours of their time, 3 hours of their time. It's like,
Ooh.
I mean, it's like if that plumber can charge, what they charge, for just a couple minutes of their time, we can all charge what we're worth, and we should.
Love it.
So, and we do it, we now also, in some way, shape, or form, we now also look a little bit more credible too.
That, and then backing it up by showing up, being professional, being on point, being crisp with what you talk about, having a plan for everything, similar to you do. And I think only great things can happen by that. You can't have one without the other. You can't just do the price increases and expect to stay at your average level of whatever you're doing. And so, man, we got to run. This is great, Phil. This has been so good. Thank you for making the time to do this today.
Well, thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's so fun, right? Just talking shop, talking about this stuff, getting the message out there. I think this is very inspirational stuff, new and old inspectors alike. It's what it's all about, learning from each other.
Yeah, we should do this more often. This was fun.
Oh yeah, you're definitely going to be a repeat guest. We're going to definitely do a brainstorm session.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right, Phil. I'll put the website in the description. Anyone that's listening that wants to get in touch with you, I imagine they can go to the website to contact you. Yeah. Cool.
Hi everyone, this is Louis from Spectora. I'm going to put 3 links down in the description below. The first link is for you if you like Spectora, but maybe you just have a couple questions. You can schedule a 15-minute discovery call with someone from our client success team to make sure that Spectora is a great fit for you. It is, by the way. If you're ready to dive in and start using the app, the second link is for our free trial. With the average cost of a home inspection, that's a couple $1,000s that you'll pocket before you pay us a dime. And the third link is for our Spectora Jumpstart program. If you're a brand new home inspector, you probably need a website, or maybe you have a website that you just kind of threw up real quick and you're not super thrilled with it. In the Jumpstart program, we'll make you a great website based on feedback from you to make sure that it reflects your business, your market, and you. We'll optimize it for search engines, and we'll put an online scheduler on your website too, so you can spend less time on the phone and more time out in the field working. We'll also bundle it with a full year of the Spectora app, and we'll do it at a great price too. Hey, thanks for watching this video. I hope you check out other videos on this channel, and take care.